Absolutely love this story from Philadelphia, and it involves someone we talk a lot about on this show, and we've talked about this person for many, many years. We are in the doghouse with this sport because of this particular person. But we'll go to the locker room drama-o-rama in the Delaware Valley, as we have learned through various reports that the Philadelphia Phillies YouTube kid, he was originally the YouTube kid. Remember seeing clips on the internet of this guy when he was in high school in Vegas. But Bryce Harper stood nose to nose, belly to belly with the clown commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. Now, this is during a meeting between the commissioner of Major League Baseball, that would be Manfred, and the team last week. Now, if you didn't see this or hear about it, maybe you missed it. We're told that Bryce Harper ended up getting in the face of Rob Manfred and telling him to get the F out. Except he didn't say F. He said the full word. He did not say F. He said the full. He's a grown-up. He said the full. We're on radio. I have to act like kids. F word. He said, get the F out of our clubhouse. He said if Manfred wanted to talk about the implication of a salary cap, oh, the boogeyman. Ooh. Now, that confrontation came in a meeting. We are told that the slimy commissioner of Major League Baseball is going around trying to improve communication relationships with every team and all the players. And the meeting lasted an hour. Must have been very boring. My God, must have that been boring. Anyway, they talked for an hour. Manfred never said the words salary cap, in quotes. He never said that. The discussion was about the economics, and that is what raised the dander of one Bryce Harper, who loves the Philly Fanatic, and I love the Philly Fanatic, so I have that in common with Bryce Harper. So let us discuss the question. Philly star, a multi-time MVP, Bryce Harper, going eye to eye, mano a mano, with Commissioner Rob Manfred over the salary cap. Whose side are you on? I am in the side. Now, I'm going to tell you whose side. I think you know whose side I'm on. I've got Dog Whistle, Art of the Covenant, and Sopranos. And we'll put all these things together, and we are going to make the gabagool is what we're going to make. We're going to make the gabagool. All right, so, listen, I am on the side of truth, justice, and the sports talk way. Bryce Harper. Here we go, Bryce. Here we go. Yeah, come on now. I love it. I love the visual in the cartoon bubble over my head. It's great. That little clown weasel. You little weasel. Rob Manfred, right? Little clown commissioner of Major League Baseball there. He goes down, sashays his way into the Phillies clubhouse, thinking, oh, man, I'm just going to go in there and blow smoke in that clubhouse. And boom, 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 nose to nose with Bryce Harper. So good. So good. Bravo. Encore. Encore, I say. Someone had to say. Now, I love that it's Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper doesn't need to do this. He's already got his money. He's already got the $300 million contract. What's he care? He got his. Right? Normally, the way this works is if you get the bag, you don't care about anyone else. You got yours. You don't, to each their own. Screw everyone else, right? You got paid. That's it. Do you know how rare it is that someone gets that kind of wealth to play baseball and is still out there screaming and barking and saying, no, we're not doing a salary cap. Normally, you know this, when you get the bag, you stop caring about the other players. Anyone who understands basic math, by the way, not just Maller math, basic math, understands the cap is crap. Like, no one that knows economics wants the salary cap in baseball. It's the worst thing in the world. Right? You're just announcing you're an idiot. If you say, I want a salary cap, you say, I want the owners to make more money. That's what you're saying. You're a moron. You're a dummy, is what you're saying. The salary cap talk is always a dog whistle. All right, it's a dog whistle for how can we keep salaries down from the ownership side, but yet convince dumb people, the fans, the idiots, that we're doing the right thing for competitive balance. You realize with no salary cap, baseball has more of a competitive balance than any of the other sports that have salary caps? Hello? What does that say? What the teams that actually try end up winning and have success in baseball. The problem is not the salary cap. The problem is the teams that don't give a crap about winning. Sacramento, the A's, that scumbag John Fisher, the Marlins in Miami, the Pirates, teams like that. That's the problem. You can win. Look, Tampa Bay, they don't spend any real money. They're playing a minor league ballpark now because the hurricane took out their stadium. And I know they're having the greatest year, but considering the amount of money they spend, they find ways. The Milwaukee Brewers have been wonderful in recent years, a consistent playoff contender or playoff team over the last decade or so, and they don't spend a ton of money. It can be done, right? You're not really – the issue is like teams that don't want to win. That's the problem. It's not the salary cap. The salary cap's not going to fix anything in terms of, competitive balance. You already have that, right? And the dirty little secret in Major League Baseball is that you look around and you see that the teams that actually put an effort into it generally find some success. But you can make a lot of money and have a baseball team that is just a golden goose without even – there's like 7 people that go to Marlins games, and I know one of them, Marlins man. And even he doesn't go to many Marlins games, and he lives in Miami, but he'd rather travel around the United States and see games in other stadiums that don't involve the Marlins because the Marlins blow. And yet the Marlins make money. And the Athletics left Oakland. They made money in Oakland. Nobody went to the games in Oakland. Nobody's, Sacramento's a minor league ballpark. It's not anyone there. They're making money because you get the TV money, you get the national revenue, and in addition, you get the teams that spend a lot, like the Dodgers and the Mets and teams like that, they cut you a check for not even trying, right? You can draw 700, 7,000, whatever, doesn't matter. Put a crap product, garbage at first base, trash at second, feces at shortstop, and doo-doo at third, and you will make money. You will absolutely make money. And while teams that try to win, right, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, teams like that, they have to pay a penalty for these other teams. And then they just pocket the money. That's the dirty little secret in baseball. And Rob Manfred, he's never going to address that. Why would he? All right, why would he? So I love the fact that Bryce Harper got right in the face of Rob Manfred and just threw it down, right? And should have tossed him right out there on Broad Street is what he should have done. Now, the second page on this, why is the salary cap chatter, which is being cranked up, the labor negotiations will take place in 2026. So it's not that far away, the end of the 2026 season, which means there could be a work stoppage prior to that. Many in baseball are preparing for the nuclear winter. But why is this salary cap, the chatter in Major League Baseball, ultimately a nothing burger? All right, let me explain this to you like you're 5 years old. The reason that this is a nothing burger, in order for there to be a salary cap, you would have to have support of the players. There is not support of the players. But even if you could get support of the players, in order for this to realistically work, you would have to do something that you will not do, something you cannot do, something that you will not do no matter what happens. You won't do it. And what is that? If you want to have an honest conversation about a salary cap in Major League Baseball, the owners would have to open the books. They'd have to open the books, the bean counters. That's never going to happen. Never, ever, ever, never. And here's why. The reason why, and most of us know this, every team in baseball is making a profit. Now, not every team makes a big profit. Not every team makes a big profit, but they're making money. Boatloads of money in Major League Baseball. And these owners who are making money hand over fist while at the same time pretending like they're bleeding cash and morons, these poor teams are losing money. No, they're not, dummy. No, they're not, right? And the books are the holy grail. I've heard some stuff that I'm not allowed to say because I don't want to get in trouble with certain people, but I've heard things over the years involving the books and the lengths that Major League Baseball has gone to make sure the financials don't get out. Some mind-blowing things have passed through my head from people who work in baseball, the efforts that they have gone to avoid opening the books, right? Like, imagine if you peeked inside John Fisher's financials and realized the Athletics didn't have to leave Oakland. he was making a lot of money. He just wants to make more money. And so it's that whole thing, right? You're more likely to see the Ark of the Covenant than you are the financials of these owners that cry they don't have any money. They treat the financials in baseball like the nuclear launch codes. Okay, that's what they treat it like. And it is such a scam. It is such a scam. We need a cap for parity. We want to have every team have a chance to win. It reminds me of that used car salesman, Bud Selig, was going around in the early 2000s and the 90s and saying, well, we need new stadiums in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati so we can have good teams on the field. These teams can win the World Series if they get those stadiums. They built new stadiums. Guess what? Spoiler alert, the teams blow chunks in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, right? They suck. And they were told, oh, no, all you need is a new stadium. This is the magic pill. That's all you need, right? That's all you need. And so, come on, it's nonsense. You don't have it right now, and yet more teams. If the Reds and Pirates actually tried, they would actually find a way to make the postseason. And we know in baseball, just making the postseason is all you have to do. It's one of those things. It's not like basketball or even football, where if you're like a 1 or 2 seed, you have a very good chance of going to the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl. In baseball, it doesn't work that way. But again, it all goes back. You're not going to open the books. So no matter how much you say, we need a salary cap, and you try to get the dumb fans behind it, morons, all right, people with IQs below 30, and you say, okay, doesn't matter, right? They're sitting on gold mines, these owners, and crying poverty. Now, I don't doubt that Scott Boras was behind this leak of the Bryce Harper story. That's got, it's my opinion. Can't sue me for my opinion that Scott Boras and his team leaked that story. Because why would Major League Baseball leak a story about Rob Manfred getting into a confrontation with one of the star players in baseball? Would never do that. So it had to come from Bryce Harper's camp, and Scott Boras is his guy, so it makes a lot of sense. But you look at everything. I mean, they make so much money in baseball, owning the stadium, the parking lots. A lot of these teams have their own TV channels. They've monetized everything. Remember, I went to Wrigley Field when I was doing stuff in another life. When I did stuff with the Dodgers, we went there in the 90s, and it was still had the charm of the old Wrigley Field, the way it had always been. I went there a couple years ago, and it was like downtown Disney. The Cubs had bought all the property around Wrigley Field, the Cub ownership, and they had put their own branding on everything and all that. And so it was a much different experience than it had been in the mom and pop days. Now, final thought. So after the Bryce Harper, Rob Manfred confrontation took place, all right, after that, a former big league player and now turned gas bag and shill for Major League Baseball, Mark DeRosa, who works for Major League Baseball, according to a story on The Athletic, buried behind a paywall, the old gray lady, the New York Times owns The Athletic. Anyway, Mark DeRosa, I was reading this story earlier, I don't know if you saw it. So the story says that Mark DeRosa warned the Philadelphia Phillies players of the commissioner's power. He warned them. Now, this was taken as a threat, according to the way the story was reported by Evan Drellick, who I briefly did a radio show with years ago. So is that how it sounds to you? Mark DeRosa, according to this story, Mark DeRosa, who works for MLB, he warned the players that essentially they're messing with the wrong guy. You're messing with Rob Manfred. What are you doing? All right, so the answer to this, yes, it sounds like a threat. I would absolutely take that as a threat. This is Sopranos style is what it is. It's organized baseball crime, if you will. Manfred is the mob boss. How long have we talked about Rob Manfred essentially being a mob boss of organized baseball, right? And there you've got Mark DeRosa. Where is he at here? So you've got Mark DeRosa, who played a Major League Baseball career. Now he works for Major League Baseball. He's the conciliary, right? He's the fixer. He's the whisperer in this, right? And he goes in there. He delivers the message for the mob boss is what he does. And he gets his hands dirty and all that, but not too dirty, right? Let's not forget who we're dealing with here, all right? And what kind of power Rob Manfred has. This is the same Rob Manfred, if I'm wrong, correct me, who shielded the cheating Astros After the biggest cheating scandal in modern times, a team cheated in the World Series. Not just to get to the World Series, in the World Series. It was in the MLB video highlighting the World Series. And what did Rob Manfred do? He let the players walk free. Altuve, that punk Bregman now with the Red Sox, Springer. There's still a few left. He's in Toronto. I let them all walk free. Now, why is that? There's a theory that baseball needed the business partners in Houston to be happy, and they would have been upset if those guys had been suspended. There's one theory that's out there. So if Manfred likes you, if he likes you, he'll protect you like family, just like a good mob movie, right? Your family. Now, if you cross him, well, what happens if you cross him? Let's see here. Oh, I have an example. Trevor Bauer. Remember Trevor Bauer, Cy Young winning pitcher, Trevor Bauer? Yeah, Trevor Bauer, who I think right now is sipping some sake in Japan rather than pitching in Major League Baseball when starting pitching blows. Rob Manfred, commissioner. Now, technically, Bauer's allowed back, but Bauer did something you're not supposed to do. He trashed Trevor Bauer trashed Rob Manfred every chance he got. So now he's in Japan. He's pitching on dusty mounds in Mexico. He's probably trying to get a work visa to pitch in Afghanistan at this particular point. And that's because he messed with Rob Manfred. No one will touch him because Manfred doesn't want him in baseball. That's the theory, right? And so Manfred plays favorites. And as far as this other guy, DeRosa, he doesn't work for the players anymore. He's a former player. He's on the payroll for Major League Baseball, right? And he's sitting there at the MLB network commentating and apparently giving friendly warnings, wink, wink, nod, nod, like he's reading some kind of bedtime story. While the message is rather loud and clear, I think the message is rather loud and clear here, that you don't talk back to the boss or the boss will get you, right? You'll be sleeping with the baseballs if you talk to the boss. That strike zone, we can still manipulate the strike zone. We can, next year we can't do it, but this year we can still manipulate it. 50-50 calls. Suddenly the umpires might be going away from Bryce Harper. You're not going to get those calls anymore, right? I'm just saying. You come at the king. You come at the king, and they say you best not miss. It is the Ben Maller Show. What do you think about all that? We'll take your thoughts. 877-99 on Fox is the number. 877-996-6369. Also on X, at Ben Maller. If you'd like to be part of the program, we'll talk a lot about this story. It's a good story. Got one of the highest paid people in baseball, Bryce Harper, going after Rob Manfred, giving him a dirty word. Dirty word. And Rob Manfred lives in a bubble there. He's this guy, he was a labor lawyer that was hired in a labor negotiation as outside counsel, and he just never left. And he rose up the ranks to become the commissioner of Major League Baseball and has been poo-pooing and spitting loogies all over the game ever since then.